I opened the first video with a theme that functions as the motif for many tracks in the game, but itself wasn't used. It may be misconstrued as being the title theme, but in actuality, you're listening to it now. Starting from episode 17, Pokemon Reborn uses this track as its title theme, composed by O Colosso and Amethyst. I've already stated that I'm a huge nerd about music and games, so I want to talk a bit about this track before we dive back into the city. Yes, episode 17 was the first one to use this brand new theme. What came before? I will go into that in future videos. I want to stay with the song's progress here. When the change occurred, I actually did not care much for this song. I found the earlier theme to be darker and more even-keeled. However, this was because I had not experienced the entire game yet, and as I went on, completing my episode 19 file, I learned why this track is perfect to represent the game. What you hear at the start is reminiscent of everything you know, the beginning of the game and the grounded nature of the city. However, as the music builds, the mystery and uncertainty grows, as does the game, as do your questions. The longer I played the game, the more I felt that my grasp of the world wasn't tightening. It was slipping. This crescendo rams chaos into your ears, drowning you in a sense of confusion and shattering your confidence. Do you really know what's going on? Do you have the strength to keep going and find out? Do you want to know? Or will it be too much? I want to point out something now because people will ask. You may have dissonance as you watch these and future videos in this series when you see some of my Pokemon seemingly going backwards in levels after I describe certain events, even going so far as to unevolve. Other times they seem to leap ahead in levels without me saying much about it. This is because I'm not the best planner, and also because I want to group some parts of the video together in a way that conflicts with the order that they happened in my footage. All I have to say is, if you see strange things, I can't stop it. We return to the story at the conclusion of the fight with Julia. Outside, Victoria is waiting for us. She tells us that Obsidia Ward is being overrun by a strange plant infestation, locking down the park and destroying the neighboring infrastructure. We're going to proceed there soon, but first, we need to meet an old friend of mine. With the first badge collected, we can bring some Pokesnacks to the southern edge of Peridot in front of the train station. If it is raining, we can find one of my most reliable teammates from before, Numel. No joke, Numel stayed in my party pretty much the entire game, and he slammed. I'm definitely bringing him on this run too. Next, the hiker who is itching to leave the city near the train station now needs to find a place to stay temporarily. Apparently, he didn't go 50 feet to the northeast and ask the owner about this little house, but for telling him about it, he gives us an Onyx. That's all we can do in our existing space. Let's head for Obsidia. Bear in mind that Opal Bridge got some new trainers, so don't run haphazardly around. Once you've shaken all the change out of the new arrival's pockets, go to the east side of the bridge where the police officer blocks the way of you and Victoria. The cop won't change his mind on account of his orders, but Florinia arrives to grant you both permission, you based on your efforts at Mosswater, and Victoria gets in thanks to potentially hitting a chord with Florinia about helping people. With that, you step forward into... Another version of the main motif plays, one sporting a very twangy guitar rendition of the familiar notes. I didn't mention it last time, but nearly all of the city tracks using this motif are done by Ame. I've always liked this one above most of the others. It has a really good beat and invokes the feeling that it's already too late for some. The city, as you've been told, is indeed infested with plant life. The vines writhing as if with sentience. Massive cracks will block your progress to any part of the northern ward, and trees that you may be able to cut down choke alleyways, funneling your progress to one specific direction. Of course, this doesn't mean you have nothing to explore. First, you can check the news in this random family's house, which first explains that Florinia was dealing with the invasive flora with the help of another gym leader, Amaria. As for Florinia herself, Arclight does an expose on her gym team style, explaining her ample use of weather and damage over time. Furthermore, he reveals that her ace is Cradily, confirming what we saw from Mosswater. That is a mean dual typing for the Grass Gym Leader, completely neutralizing Grass's more common weaknesses while using Grass's resistances to patch up the weaknesses of Rock. Being down to Ice, Bug, Fighting, and Steel at this point in the game is limiting, but we'll address that. you know, at the end of the episode. Moving on now to the Pokemon Center across the street, we can talk to 2 people to start some side quests. One we can finish now, and one that won't be finished for a long time. This lady is missing her son, and this girl is missing her boyfriend. Apparently, the boyfriend fell into a chasm that formed when the plants burst through the ground. That sounds, bad, but let's keep positive. Next door to the Pokemon Center, you discover the daycare. But before you think you can start breeding your Pokemon here, the owners start acting very strange and deny you service. It may not seem obvious, but keep pestering them back and forth. Eventually, they get sick of you and start a spiel that may sound pretty familiar. It becomes quite obvious that battle is imminent. This time around, the verbose Meteor duo have upped their game to 2 Pokemon apiece. One of them leads with a goddamn Jangmo-O, who is going to prove tanky to our current movesets. As well, his Dragon Tail keeps putting me on my back foot, usually drawing out something that isn't suitable for the situation. However, Numel gets to torch down the other grunt's Venonat while this is happening, leading to Crabrawler taking its place. Unfortunately, the non-water type blasts my poor Numel with a water move and he goes down. Meanwhile, after taking a hunk out of the offending crab with Magical Leaf, Cherubi also gets ejected and in comes Esper. A good choice this time to handle Crabrawler. I'm left to choose how to bring down the Jangmo, which has to be Delibird. A single Ice Shard ends the pseudo, but Crabrawler undercuts my Esper. We both summon replacements. I my Frogadier, them a Minior. Delibird misses an Ice Shard at the worst time. Thank you, Hustle. Water Pulse confuses the Minior, who muscles through it to smash my Delibird with 4 times damage before smashing its armor. Kricketune comes out because I'm not thinking, and doesn't immediately go down to the now super fast Minior thanks to Confusion Luck, and Frog craters the Meteor. Well, you know, the Meteor's Meteor. The 2-on-1 against the crab ends quickly, and we evict the evictors, though this does not return the daycare couple on its own. We'll have to search for them, but we can't do anything until we make our way through Obsidia. On the left from the Pokemon Center Street, we have 2 buildings. One is the Pokeball store Critical Capture, which sells a lot of specialty Pokeballs. I've never found a lot of use in these niche Pokeballs. I just prefer to use the basic ones, though it's up to you. There are friend balls here, which are incredibly useful, but at that price, best to buy them sparingly. To the left of this store is a salon, which, as in canon Pokemon games, allows you to raise friendship with haircuts. They will also check your friendship level. One lady, the one on the right, will cynically disparage your treatment of Pokemon until you show her one with a high enough friendship, which for me is Frogadier. She'll relent her skepticism and give you a Soothe Bell. Nice to have. We'll be back here later. Back on the main street, we enter the Devencorp building, where there isn't much to do. The people inside are pretty generic, except for the one on the left. Apparently, a lot of people named their kids Next door to Devencorp is Sweet Kiss, a candy store which seems like a harbor in a hurricane. The neat and tidy presentation and bright colors clash with the outside air of suffering. There isn't a lot to buy in here, or more accurately, not a lot you should buy, not for those prices. Holy cow, the game actually sells rare candies? Yeah, and let me give you some advice. There's not a single reason to buy rare candies, and not only because they are expensive. It's because they are going to be outclassed by the end of the game. You'll see. For now, suffice it to say that battling the rebattleable trainers at the Grand Hall for free XP candy is infinitely better. The rest of the healing items here are nice in that they also raise friendship, but you'll find so many of these over the course of the game that buying them is pretty unnecessary. The only one that may stand out here is the Cotton Candy, which is a revive, but for that price? Nah, just save your money. Now there are 2 things you should do in here. First, in the top left corner of the store is a mini game to win a prize. Oh joy. Tile puzzles. This one is not too hard. It lets you move and rotate each piece individually. Fiddle with it enough to get a Swirlix. But there's something else in here. Something that I didn't even know existed until reading through Big JRA's walkthrough. This is a pretty cryptic puzzle, but this kid at the ice cream machine will move if you give him some ice cream. However, you can't buy it from here since he's blocking it, so where else can you get some? Well, if you wait until a sunny day, you can go in front of the Grand Hall and find this girl selling ice cream. Buy any ice cream, preferably the cheapest of course, and give it to the kid. He will disappear from existence and make the ice cream vending machine available. Now you'll look at these prices and wonder, why is the vanilla so much more expensive? And the answer is price gouging. But you can probably guess what comes out if you buy that vanilla ice cream. It's the one, the only, MVP, Clutch Master Vanillite. None of this makes sense. These are all inside jokes with myself. But Vanillite, which of course I mean Vanillux, has garnered a reputation with me. That is, to survive through completely unreasonable opposition to win fights. Like the time when I fought the final boss of Pokemon Black and only had Vanillux left against Hydreigon, under-leveled to him, and Vanillux fucking tanks a Fire Blast and kills with Blizzard. You'd better believe we're going to be using him, especially once he evolves and learns one specific move. We'll get back to Vanillite in a few episodes. So now, before heading south, we follow Victoria to the source of the devastation. Indeed, something hideous and unnatural is unfolding here, and Florinia's reports of suspicious persons setting up a machine in the park portend horrible things to come. Before we can even try to delve the malignant tangle, we have to overcome a very familiar obstacle, a single, tiny tree. Yep, as per usual in a Pokemon game, before, they did away with all of that, we need to obtain Cut. Florinia explains that Amaria left her to explore to the south, looking for other suspects, and took Cut with her. As Amaria did, so too will Victoria, who splits up from us to go looking for her. Side note, you could have skipped all this scene and gone straight south, but that would actually cause Victoria to not show up there and you'll miss out on a battle with her. To the south, we won't find a lot of accessible buildings before we reach the story progression, but we will find this one with a man and his feisty Lillipup who won't stay still. We'll be chasing that pup throughout this episode. Also, if it is a windy day, you can snag a Hoppip floating above the decrepit buildings. What a lovely contrast. Finally, with no other side quest to do, we make progress by entering That is a hell of a depressing tone. You won't see this in a game from the Pokemon Company. Welcome to the Obsidia Slums, another area in early game Reborn that got an arresting facelift from previous episodes. The squalor is so finely wrought, details upon details, conveying the miserable existence of those who subsist here in so pensive a tone. Pair this with a music track that originally was first used much later in the game, but gets to make a first impression here, albeit at 50% normal speed. That track is Mount Coronet Remix V2 by Glitch City. It's amazing what a speed change does to the tone of a track. When we reach the location scored by this track at original speed, you'll hear an entirely different emotional range. As you make your way into the slums, you'll be well rewarded scavenging the mire for some items, which feels kind of morbid again, but oh well. The most noteworthy item after the first two trainers is a Great Ball. As a side note, I am one of those players that hoards good items unnecessarily too long. But take it from me, if you're like that, Reborn is going to grip your throat to make you use those items. Don't worry, it's fine to use items sometimes. The beginning of the dungeon presents you with a lot of locked doors and closed gates, so follow the only open path to the left. You'll hear and see that Pokemon hijinks are afoot. As you make a right, you'll discover a sparkling star shape. This is a light shard, a one-use item you'll find throughout the game that fully restores your party. They are usually placed for one of two reasons. Either it's a pick-me-up so you don't have to run all the way out of the dungeon halfway through to heal at a center, or something big is coming. In this first case, it's a little of both, though more the former. After some more wading through the human misery, we finally catch up to Victoria, who is hung up looking for a way through. I did see that secret switch a minute ago, but I talked to her before pressing it. After complaining that she isn't feeling very comfortable in this element, she asks for a battle. That's right, asks. You could decline this if you wanted, and press the switch to skip the fight entirely. You could have also come here directly without talking to her at the park. However, this is another instance where you get relationship points for her if you win this match. Before we start though, I need to clarify something about relationship points. I should have been more clear about what they do in the first episode. They actually affect some extra scenes that play in the ending of the game. That means if you want to see the extra scene of a particular character, you'll need to raise their relationship score enough throughout the whole game. You won't be able to fix it if you get to the end and their scene doesn't play. It also affects an extra game mode, but that isn't story-based, so I won't say anything else about that. With that out of the way, let's get this relationship point by battling Victoria. She leads with a Ralts, which, let me say, I seem to have the worst time preparing for fairy types, so I have not much to hit it with. But 2 ice shards drops it. Immediately her ace Torracat approaches, so I send out Frogadier of course. I take a dual chop, but this matchup is completely one-sided. Next is a Pichu, which is easily taken out by Numel, hitting it with magnitude twice. Last is Pancham, who I forget is not part dark, so Esper would have decked her easily. Instead, I force through half damage hits with Fury Cutter and still win. After this, the dude nearby catcalls her, which gets her a little bit upset, but the guy tries to smooth it over by hitting that switch I looked at before the fight. This doesn't unpiss her off, so we continue on without her. Don't know what she wants him to prove, but we're never going to know. Anyway, descend down the escalator to Roomba the floor below for some more items. Down here, wild Pokemon spawn, so take some time to catch something if you want. I caught a Mankey, for reasons. I'll tell you the reason in a few episodes. On this left side of the bottom floor, if you walk into the space between the escalators, you'll find a hidden room with a max repel, Carbos, and a locked door. Keep note of this room and we'll come back to it later. Head up and you'll reach this dungeon's puzzle, a jumping gaps maze. In order to advance, look carefully to try to see what's under the foreground elements. It's not very difficult, though you could miss secret items if you blaze through it too fast. Walk up the stairs and you'll find a fork in the road. You'll want to go left first, then hang a left again to pick up a candy. Cross the gaps and make your way to the visible item to get a moonstone. Finally, head up the stairs to encounter Corey again. The man who is leaving just now gives away that Corey is a former gym leader. As he speaks to you, Corey seems completely unwilling to speak with you or even suffer your presence, though he can't deny how you helped him before. He downplays being a gym leader and bitterly laments the treatment of poor people from a medical perspective. He warns you to forget that he was here under the guise that the law doesn't look kindly on his extra medical practice, and then he promptly leaves. Tell no one he was here? Well, we can only speak in Boolean, so I doubt we could tell anyone anyway. Anyway, pick up the zinc and candy here and make your way back to the fork in the road. You'll reach the place he directed you and go down, see something scamper away, and make our way across the rooftop, grabbing another light shard if you need it. Go down the hallway to the right and slip into the possessed elevator, find the Mankey messing with the buttons, then gain access to the first floor shortcut and advancement to the basement. Once again, scout around for ground goodies. As you approach the boy in the bottom of the room and lay his ass out, using Numel to try to get the magnitude underground kill, but no, RNG sucks, you discover that Kai here was the one who stole the rare Pokemon from the swindlers at the Grand Hall. However, he doesn't have it either, having sold it to a gang member in the north of Obsidia Ward. Once again, the impressive Pokemon eludes us. On the left side of the room, you'll see an open elevator door with a box blocking the way. The box will quickly escape, and the second elevator will be available. Taking it up will let us get behind the kid on the first floor for a netball, and take us up to the second floor where we saw that TM. The TM is for Quash. Whoopee. On the left-hand entrance, there seems to be something missing from this room. We'll have to come back later, but on the ground is a handy friend ball. Finally, it's time to enter the central structure, with a sign saying Ureyu. If you recall from the surface NPCs, Ureyu was the big Reborn-grown powerhouse company many years ago. However, major earthquakes struck and caused massive damage to their properties. This forced them to go out of business. Walk into the building and see another box skitter away. Follow it as you beat the other trainers on the way. There's another light shard here, and this time you should take it for preparation. You'll see that the moving box we just chased contained a Scraggy. After making use of that light shard, proceed through the door where the Scraggy went. Entering the door, you might think that this is a Scraggy event, but no. This is going to be the first time in the game where you fight a Pokemon-led team. The leader? Scrafty. Here's something to keep in mind. Even though there is no trainer, Pokemon in these battles aren't catchable. Take note of what music is playing to know for sure. If it's trainer battle music, don't attempt to throw a ball. Taking on fighting dark types are annoying for me since I have neither flying nor better yet fairy, so we'll have to make do. This fight though put me through the ringer. It immediately starts with Intimidate, which hurts Krickettoon's attack. I bring one Scraggy down to low health while Numel is pummeled. Numel gets the kill on one Scraggy before falling to the other. Worse, Krickettoon drops the Fury Cutter, basically dooming his chances as the Scrafty hits the field. I go out to Cherubi next. Somehow, Krickettoon is faster and lands the all-important Sing to sleep the Scrafty, who I hit with Magical Leaf for almost nothing. RNG screws me some more by letting the Scrafty awaken quickly to flatten Cherubi, and this is when I see the Scrafty has Moxie. Yeah, that's a bit terrifying. Fury Cutter is starting again as Frogadier comes out to hopefully force the Scrafty down. Infuriatingly, a second turn Fury Cutter and a Water Pulse that confuses doesn't down the fully evolved Pokemon, who ignores the confusion and smashes Kricketune, Moxieing again. The snowball is rolling now. Fortunately, I have Prio to stop this from going on. Unfortunately, Delibird fails me at the worst time, and after Frogadier also misses the kill on the other Scraggy, he falls to another ridiculously strong payback. Delibird is still alive, so let's actually hit the Ice Shard and knock the damn thing out. At this point though, we are beat. Even though Esper manages to finish off the second Scraggy, we are left with the third and final one. Fortunately, Delibird goes 2 for 3 on Ice Shards, but immediately goes down to Feint Attack. This leaves my slower Esper completely out of position type-wise, but she incredibly tanks the Feint Attack and I barely scrape up a win. What the hell? Why did that fight kick my ass? Let this be a lesson. You really want type coverage. Something against any threat. A single flying or fairy move would have made this way easier. But even with horrible luck, we managed to eke out the win and can continue. Very nervously with our entire team knocked out. Anyone got one of those light shards again? Man, a revive would be nice. If that's what you're thinking, then slip through the secret wall and there you go. A cotton candy. Cotton candies, like I said, are identical to revives while also giving a friendship boost to that Pokemon. Okay, I'm not actually going to use the cotton candy right now. You can open up a shortcut back to the start of the slums just up that escalator. The door on the right leads down some stairs to another blocked passage, this time with rock smash stones. Obviously jot this place down, take the super potion and candy and return later. Head up the escalator and to the south to open a gate to return to the beginning of the dungeon, then book it to the center and heal your beat up team. Now take the right path first and cross another series of jumping squares. Head down and you'll come across the blue item from the beginning of the dungeon. Go ahead and take someone else's offspring and check it out in your party. You'll get to see a super cool feature of Reborn. Every Pokemon egg is textured with a pattern and color scheme that indicates what Pokemon is going to hatch from it. It will even indicate shininess. Awesome feature. Return to the intersection from before and take the last direction, north. As you walk down the hallway, keep an eye out for anything hiding under the foreground. You'll come across a Spoink who will spring away. We'll see him again in a little while. Finally, we come back out into fresh air. Well, as fresh as the decaying city will let it be. As soon as you emerge from the slums, you can go to the right and find an old man standing in front of a large door. He explains that this is the way to the Bixbysian Wasteland, a place that apparently has some unnatural problem, where trash and debris gravitate to it. Door is locked for now, so continue south and enter... Now we reach the site of the last stage of a city's degradation. Desertion. Coral Ward is almost entirely desolate. The quiet, somber track informs an eerie, lost quality to this ward. Only a few people are here in this once bustling ward, and will make it clear the fetid waters of the lake have ruined this ward and its industry. Strangely, a gym stands dilapidated among the otherwise intact buildings. Odd that the league would be functional, yet this gym in the middle of the city is destroyed. Next to the gym is a house with a man who would like a watchog for a nose pass. Here's footage of me making that trade. I surely had caught that Patrat and evolved it by now. You've seen it all along. Moving on. For now, all of the warehouses are locked, despite strange noises coming from within. On the docks is a man fishing, though his team demonstrates just what he's been catching. However, more interestingly is what kind of field we battle him on. Misty terrain. Here we have another of the vanilla field effects. Once again, let's go over first the effects that were already in the base games. First off, dragon type moves have half power. Not a big surprise since this is considered the fairy field in Generation 6. Next, status conditions will not work against any grounded Pokemon. This also stops Yawn and Rest from working. Nature power becomes Moonblast, Camouflage is Fairy, Secret power may lower special attack. As a good segue into Reborn's specific changes, the last thing to mention about Vanilla Misty Terrain is that it is created by, you guessed it, Misty Terrain, the move. It can also be made by Misty Surge, for all those Tapu Finis you'll encounter. Reborn, however, gives the move Mist a very strategic improvement. Pokemon that use Mist will change the field into misty terrain for 3 turns, or 6 if they are holding an item unique to Pokemon Reborn, the Amplified Rock. Now, Reborn's tweaks to the misty field. Fairy Pokemon gain 50% more special defense. That's going to be quite a problem as the game goes on and fairy types appear more frequently. Pixelate will increase its power boost from 20% to 50%. Marvel Scale is activated, meaning Milotics and Dragonairs will have 50% extra defense. If you're a Palisand, then your Water Compaction activates on Switch In. Dry Skin will give the bearer leftovers healing. Soul Heart will additionally raise special defense by 1 stage if you find yourself fighting the Girnas, you know. All of these moves get a 50% boost, while Dark Pulse, Night Daze, and Shadow Ball lose 50% power. Aromatic Mist raises special defense by 2 stages. Cosmic Power raises both defenses by 2 stages. Explosion, Mind Blown, and Self-Destruct will always fail. Sweet Scent lowers both of the target's defenses by 1 stage. Wish restores 75% of max HP. Aqua Ring restores 1/8 max HP each turn. Oh, and Reborn actually switched the Nature Power move to Mist Ball instead of Moonblast, oddly. Using an Elemental Seed will raise special defense by 1 stage and apply Wish to the user. Finally, you can terminate the field using these moves and change it to Corrosive Mist if you use Acid Downpour, or these 3 moves 2 times total. No, we're not going over Corrosive Mist today. Next episode. So what's there to say about Misty Terrain? Well, it's a fairy-centric field, and other than that, it's hard to pin it down with any certain strategy. Being unable to use statuses can cause some issues, and knocking out fairy types will be a pain, of course, but not that much changes in a cohesive way. Setup Pokemon using moves like Cosmic Power may prove troublesome to remove. Besides those cases, you don't have a lot to worry about. Misty Terrain may be one of the simplest terrains to deal with. Depth 2, Difficulty 2. Thank goodness it isn't Fairy Tail Field. By the way, in this battle you can see my Magical Leaf getting the boost, and there isn't anything else to say about this fight, other than fuck Mudslap. Before we advance the plot, we have a couple more things to check out. First, if it is raining and you have Pokesnacks, then you can get a Lotad. On the upper set of docks, ignoring the obvious story character for a moment, we can find the Lillipup, but he'll run off again. Finally, before we talk to the girl there, let's go into this building and talk to this girl instead. This is Danielle. As she likes to mention, she's blind. She's also nice. Not in the least sarcastic. Just swell. She challenges you to a series of 3 questions involving counting the number of something in a place. She mocks you relentlessly if you get them wrong, and mocks you further when you try again. If you want the answers, they are 4 headbutt trees, 7 satellite dishes, and 31 banners. Giving her the 3 correct answers will reward you the Misty Terrain readout on the Pokegear, but it will not reward you any respect from her. Don't worry. You never will actually get any respect from her, so don't feel bad. Also, we'll have to do this again later. Much later. Finally, let's actually get on with the story. In the north of Coral Ward, we meet Amaria, one of the highest ranked gym leaders, as you'll be told several times. It isn't apparent yet, but you'll see why that matters so much. She was on the trail of a Meteor agent, but lost track of him and time, and now has found a Poplio stranded on the Noxious Lake. At that time, Kane shows up to solve the problem with the stranded Poplio, complete with song. We learn that Kane is, or now was, the Poison Gym Leader, having just resigned as we could surmise from the beginning of the game. However, the leader previous to him had also just retired. Strange. Kane mostly explains away his reasoning and begins to leave, but the Poplio appears to have imprinted on him. The Seal Pokemon is eager to go with Kane, who accepts it. It's a sweet scene now. If only you knew what terrors that thing will bring. Then, the pretty boy asks us to help the Poplio out by battling him. This time, unlike Victoria, the rival battle is not optional. Like Victoria, Kane is up to 4 Pokemon. Not sure why a former gym leader can't get up to 6 again very easily, but whatever. The battle starts with him sending out the Grimer who just saved the day, while I had Esper waiting first. Well, that's not going to work. I swap to Numel, who takes a chunk of damage but removes the sludge pile. Poplio comes out immediately afterwards, and we introduce it to the magic of Pokemon battles by shooting magical leaves in its face, killing it instantly. Next is Cubone, who is fodder for Frogadier at these levels, then Esper comes back out for Nidorino. It was a bad move since it was so low, and more than likely the crit didn't matter, but Esper did most of the work leaving Numel to clean up. Gets the Quick Claw, and then gets a 4. RNG, man. Frog comes back out to put the Nidorino away. With that, Amaria is surprised with our 6v4 victory, and Kane now departs, noting he needs to head back to Bixbysian Wasteland. Weird place to have to go. As for Amaria, she contemplates the suffering of Pokemon before we remind her of why we even know about her in the first place. She explains that she was looking for the agent named Borealis. She asks if we think we saw a man fitting a description we are not given, and then we are given TMX-1 Cut, after which she returns to Obsidia. Yeah, TMX-1 is what it was called, not HM. In this game, TMXs work slightly different than HMs. They are necessary for breaking through the Metroidvania boundaries throughout the game, but unlike HM moves being frozen on a Pokemon's moveset, you can delete a TMX move at any time. Since both TMs and TMXs are infinitely relearnable, you can do a bit to keep a move slot on rotation, depending on when you need to cut a tree or move a rock. However, as I said in the beginning of the playthrough, I am using the password EasyHMs to do away with this kind of move juggling. I used no passwords on my last completed file, so I can tell you that it is perfectly doable, but I decided to leave out the HM hassle this time around for expediency's sake. Hey, I may be the stupid one playing this entire game again, but I would be happy if the playtime wasn't over 250 hours once again. Anyway, with our newfound tree-destroying power, let's get back to the park. Return to Obsidia and travel up the east side of the ward and, using Cut, eviscerate that tree. You'll see another, and your bloodlust for trees may entice you to rend that one too. If you give in to your carnal appetite, you'll discover another very cool quality of life improvement. HM moves on the field act in sort of a continuous mode, where each subsequent usage of the HM doesn't prompt you again, and you can cut down all of the trees. But only until you hit a load zone, where the area name comes down in the top left. Then you have to confirm it again. But no matter what, nice little feature. On the way up the east side, you'll find a new building we haven't entered yet, and it is another salon, whose owner immediately saddles us with a task. Go to the other salon across town and find out why they're doing better than her. By doing so, she gives you permission to take one of the Glameow with you. You don't know what you do by taking that creature with you. At this point, we have the ability to enter the park and find out what nightmare awaits. Before we do that though, let's go to the west side and cut down this tree. Enter this alley for a few different Pokemon events. First, at any time, you can bring Pokesnacks here to coax either a Plusle or Minun out and take it with you. Just don't fucking encore me again. Reaching the top of the alleyway room, we see an Electrike being threatened by two Mightyena. Let's kick some dogs for another dog. What you'll notice though is that the two of them got into a stash of XP candy and are at our level cap. Worse, as is Mightyena's favorite thing to do, 2 Intimidates go off, leaving Kricketune in a bad way for using Fury Cutter. Speaking of bad way, Cherubi gets slapped and then bit with fire, so he's gone. What's good is that Struggle Bug hits both targets for good damage. I bring Frogadier out, who is able to confuse one Mightyena, who then loses its turn to punching itself. The other, though, takes a huge bite out of Kricketune, who beast modes through it and brings down the weakened Mightyena. Frogadier's speed easily takes care of the last shred of the other one. This nets us an Electrike. There's also one more Pokemon event that starts here. It has to be daytime and, well, we'll come back to it in a little while. That's all there is down here. Now, before we plunge into darkness, let's get this egg hatched. It turns out that it's a Bronzor, and it has some meaty stats. I was thinking about using it, but the level cap heavily restricts its usefulness right now, so we'll box him for later. Okay, no more delaying the inevitable. It's time to take a walk in the park, though it will be no such thing. Amaria mentions that she never did find Borealis in the south, so now all we can do is charge into the green hell ahead and find out whatever we can. Now the menace sets in. You're never without uneasiness when you play Reborn, especially as you tread new ground. It's impossible to predict what you'll find and how you'll be able to handle it. The two gym leaders here seem to be confident in their abilities and our numbers, and instruct us to secure the perimeter as they strike at the heart of the fell wood. None of you know, but I do. So we enter the second episode's main dungeon, which once again offers a puzzle to solve. This one is a simple maze with a vine-choked twist. But first, we come across, as you probably guessed, Team Meteor. Immediately, you'll see that the forest is a unique battle stage, and of course it means we get to talk about a new field effect, Forest Field. Forest Field is one of those fields you'll see very frequently in this game, which when you think about the setting of Reborn being a disgusting anathema to nature, that may surprise you. It is also a mite bit harder to deal with. Grass and special bug-type moves get a 50% bonus. Effect Spore activates at double the rate, 60%. Grass Pelt, Leaf Guard, Overgrow, and Swarm are activated. Sap Sipper will gain the effect of Leftovers. Long Reach for you people who took Rowlet will also reduce accuracy of all of its moves by 10%. So yeah, fuck you, Fern. Attack Order and Electro Web get a 50% boost, while Cut gets the same and deals double damage to grass types. Muddy Water and Surf lose 50% power. Defend Order raises both defenses by 2 stages. Growth raises both attacks by 2 stages. Nature's Madness takes away 75% of a target's remaining HP, for all of you using the Tapus. Sticky Web will lower speed by 2 stages, holy crap. Strength Sap will restore 30% more HP. Heal Order heals 2/3 of max HP. Ingrain restores 1/8 max HP each turn. Forest Curse puts the effect of Ghost-type Curse on the target without the user losing HP. Nature Power becomes Wood Hammer. Camouflage is Grass. Secret Power may cause Sleep. A Pokemon with a Telluric Seed will get a Spiky Shield. Forest is a little deceptive. It may seem pretty simple, but this is a field that is going to drive you nuts in many fights. The biggest issue I've seen is the special bug move power-up. That shit is going to get you killed in a lot of fights. Just take Bug Buzz, a 90 power bug move learned by fucking every bug there is. Now it's 135 power. That is a monster of a move. Of course, combined with Swarm and other bug ability activation, and you have a horrible combination. I sure hope the bug leader doesn't battle on a forest field. Besides this, the boost to grass moves, the increase in effect for Sticky Web, and other incidentals cause forest to be much more dangerous than the previous fields. Depth 5, difficulty 5. But we need to talk about something else. Remember how I said before? As we go on, you'll find that the majority of the fields through the game are also interrelated. What do you suppose would happen if we used one of these moves in the forest? Burn, baby, burn. Burning Field is something you're also likely to get to know pretty well. It has some nasty issues, so let's go over them. First, you can create this field at any time for a few turns if you use Grass Pledge and Fire Pledge after each other in a battle. Otherwise, you can reach it by burning the precious vegetation in Reborn. Fire moves are 50% stronger used by grounded Pokemon, and grass moves are 50% weaker against grounded Pokemon. Ice moves are 50% weaker across the board. The most noticeable effect of Burning Field is, obviously, that it's burning you. All grounded Pokemon that aren't Fire type will take a base 1/8 max HP damage per turn. This scales according to that Pokemon's weakness to Fire, so Caracosta takes 1/32nd damage, and Abomasnow takes 1/2. They will become immune to the damage if they use Aqua Ring or have these abilities. However, if you have Fluffy, Grass Pelt, Ice Body, or Leaf Guard, then it doubles. So fuck you, Swadloon, and only Swadloon. I checked, that's the only Pokemon that will in fact die in one turn just standing on this field. Some other changes include activating Blaze and Flare Boost. Flash Fire will activate at end of turn if the user is grounded. Smackdown and Thousand Arrows double in power and gain Fire type. Clear Smog and Smog gain 50% power and Fire type. Smokescreen will lower accuracy 2 stages. Fire Spin will deal 1/6 of max HP every turn. Burn Up's effect resets every turn, so enjoy the 130 power move over and over. Will-O-Wisp has 100 accuracy. Nature power becomes flamethrower, camouflage turns to fire, secret power may burn, duh. Using an elemental seed will raise attack, special attack, and speed by 1 stage but trap you in a fire spin for 4 turns. Finally, all these things terminate Burning Field. So Burning Field is a hell of a terrain. If you have to face a team that is suited to Burning Field, then it is extremely dangerous and will sap your strength while you have to overcome a lot of synergy. Even against an ill-suited team, your Pokemon are likely to drop just from incidental damage. Depth 5, difficulty 6. This leads us to plotting these 2 new fields in the Effect Galaxy. This looks like this. You may wonder why a red line instead of the blue from Short Circuit and Factory. That's because it is a one-way street. You can't unburn the trees. We defeat the Meteor Grunt who so kindly helped us demonstrate 2 field effects in 1 battle, and we move on. We are lured to the northwest here to pick up a Pokeball, but you're likely to spot something. Is that Florinia? This is bad. Let's hurry and get her out of here. We'll need to now contend with the Living Forest's puzzle. At several points throughout the maze, you'll encounter these wiggling trees. They're not Sudowoodos, though there are Bonslies around. Cutting them makes the tendrils blocking progress move. With this first one cut, you can head back to the beginning and get through the passage, and cut another to move ahead. The paths don't really fork that often. Most of the time you'll just need to backtrack to a place you've previously been to get deeper into the thickets. Use the Meteor Grunt breadcrumbs to keep your progress. It seems, though, that this entire incursion was folly. Indeed, as we cut back to the left from the rightmost wall, we witness Victoria defeated by a hooded figure using a Crobat, a wicked step up in strength compared to anything we've seen so far. As we overhear her say, this is Borealis, who has no shortage of verbose insults and bitter platitudes. He belittles her weakness and our plan to come here at all, especially shredding the concept of splitting up. He seems to have utter disdain for the city. This is an interesting moment because it contrasts Victoria and Borealis in a specific way. That is, Victoria is essentially an NPC from a regular Pokemon game, evoking many of the same ideals as friendship, justice, preservation. However, Borealis is a representation of how Reborn, the game, will have nothing to do with those things. Idyllic world of Pokemon, this is most certainly not. This, as Borealis puts it, is reality. With that, Borealis commands his Crobat to take her away. The situation continues to deteriorate at a rapid rate. Hey, Candy! As you go to cut this tree here, you'll notice a slim path towards the north, which you can reach and enter a building. Inside you find 2 very nice items, False Swipe and a warehouse key. Exit the building and continue forward. Not much farther to go, but if you continue to the left, you're the only one left standing. This brings up something very frightening. Just because you're a high-ranked trainer doesn't mean you yourself are strong. You get a glimpse of something haunting, the source. Make your way through one last pathway. Remember what I said about light shards? Yeah, eat that thing and get ready. The nightmares begin. Step forward to the clearing with the shadowy figure and strange machine upon which a monstrous abomination waits. Upon noticing our presence, the figure begins talking to someone. That someone is also themselves, who protests that the tan growth apparently in that machine cannot go faster. This second someone is succeeded by a third someone with a much more calm disposition. They seem pleased at the tan growth's accomplishments already. At this point, the first someone within this same body barks at the other 2 that something must be done about us approaching. Second voice turns and introduces herself as Lumi, who is promptly cut off by the self-appointed leader of this operation named Zero. Third and finally, the last voice introduces herself as Eve. The name of this bizarre collective entity is Zell, whose currently talking personality is denoted by the capital letter in the Q line. Why are seemingly 3 people inhabiting one body? The answer will not come for a long time, but not quite as long as other mysteries. But that's not what's important right now. It's time to introduce the reason why you fear Meteor. Pulse. Lumi explains freely that the destruction being wrought on this ward is all the work of this tan growth. Its power is amplified by the link system upon which it is shackled, as Eve explains, being the creator of Pulse herself. With that, Zero dares you to stop it. Now the battle begins, but as your single foe is revealed, you see that it is just a Tangrowth. Even being level 22 and evolved, one Tangrowth can't be that. What in the hell is that thing? Pulse Tangrowth arrives to lay waste to the unprepared. Even preparations don't guarantee success, not by a long shot. My Delibird begins the fight getting a couple decent hits with Ice Shard. If you recall, we heard about this Tangrowth. It is apparently grass and poison type, not pure grass. But that poison type shows itself as it shoots acid spray to harshly lower Delibird's special defense. Delibird can't last a second hit and goes down to the monstrosity. Though not resistant to grass, I send in Numel to burn this whole forest down with this beast. This works very well, as while the field is burning, Tangrowth loses 1/4 of its HP a turn, while Numel takes no field damage. The Mega Drain Tangrowth tries would be scary most of the time since we can see how little damage Flame Burst actually did, but he barely gains any health back. The next turn, even with a boosted fire attack, we still don't kill the Tangrowth, who goes back to Acid Spray, but too late. The flames consume the monster, and we are victorious over the Pulse. This causes the overgrowth of the park to begin receding, as Zell argues among their constituent parts before preparing to escape with the Pulse machine. However, Zero leaves us with a line that should stay with you the entire game. The horror in the park is over, and Amaria and Florinia are freed. Amaria thanks us, I think. Why does this seem like sarcasm? Did she want to die? Florinia also offers her gratitude and explains what happened to the two of them. Apparently after snatching both of them, the Tangrowth was not behaving as expected anymore, which is why it seemed unable to do the same to us. We inform the two gym leaders that Victoria has been abducted by Borealis. Amaria agrees to pass this information to the Grand Hall, while Florinia explains she is returning to her gym and school located in the Onyx Ward. The gym battle with Florinia approaches. Now what's that you say? I beat the Pulse in one try? And that didn't seem too hard? Okay then, how about this? See this Litleo you can find during the day in the alley where the Electrike and Plusselin Minen were? He runs off towards the underground railnet entrance. Let's follow him downstairs. Yeah, this is real. Fight this level 35 Kling Klang if you want this Litleo. What the hell are you supposed to do to something that's that much higher level? As you can see, even hitting it with a super effective move does nearly nothing, while its not very effective attack takes 2/3 of Numel's life. Do we have to come back to this when our level cap increases? Perhaps. Or we could try something else. After all, if you were paying close attention, you may have noticed that we have encountered another new field effect, Cave. Cave is, like Forest, one of those no-duh kind of fields, like it has to appear. However, Cave, like Forest, is more nuanced than you'd give it credit for. Let's break it down. First, rock and sound-based moves, yes, sound-based moves like Boom Burst or Echoed Voice, get a 50% boost. Non-contact flying moves, basically meaning wind moves, lose 50% of their power. Ground-type moves can hit airborne Pokemon like flying types or levitators. That's pretty important, and I definitely don't forget about it all the time. Rock Tomb gets an additional 50% power boost. Fly and Bounce happen in one turn. Sky Drop always fails. Stealth Rock damage is doubled. Nature Power becomes Rock Tomb. Camo turns to Rock. Secret Power may cause flinching. Using a Telluric Seed raises defense by 2 stages, but incurs Stealth Rock damage to yourself. Now Cave might have the least text of any field effect. However, it packs lots of tricks into a tight, confined space. The differences to fly and ground moves against flying opponents will trip you up, and sound moves may take you by surprise. It's not the site of many super noteworthy fights, but you'll be in here so often you'd better learn it pretty well. Depth 4, difficulty 4. You aren't going to lose sleep over this field, but you'll remember it. And that brings us back to this fight with this unreasonably leveled Kling Klang. So how do we get past it? Well, I left the best part of Cave for last. There are several moves, these moves, that will read this message when you use them. If you were to use that move again, especially after Kling Klang misses at our most opportune time, then... And there you go. Even against an opponent that was massively overleveled compared to us, we could still overcome. If you use those specific moves 2 times, the cave ceiling will collapse and everything faints. Unless they are in a semi-invulnerable turn, they have one of the protect effects, they have bulletproof or rock head to ignore all the damage, they have prism armor or solid rock to take 1/3 max HP, they have battle or shell armor to take only half HP, or they have sturdy with full HP and they are brought to 1 HP. It's definitely a move that can cheese certain fights, while also screwing you over sometimes. Don't think this is a one-off occurrence. This will become a very familiar feeling, and it shows how a seemingly overwhelming situation can be diffused if you use the field effects well. For Numel's brave sacrifice, we are awarded another fire type, Litleo, and a little more of our sanity is scratched away. Now we can move on to... What? That's still not good enough? You want more? Okay, fine. I'll show you something. Something I didn't even know about until this playthrough. Thank you, Big JRA. So you know that Glameow we got from the Eastern Salon? What happens if we bring it to this lady in the Western Salon? Oh yeah, now that's a hell fight. So, I went into this fight thinking that I could make use of weather from the Snover I just got from the future, don't worry about it, and tank maybe 1 hit with something resistant to grass, use Numel and Delibird to do some good damage. There's no tanking shit. Trop Kick will trop each and every Pokemon you put in front of this thing at this level. Sure, Hail is going to cause her to lose 5/16 of their health by the end. Woohoo. Well, we could stall out a turn with Fake Out, right? Oh yeah, Queenly Majesty. That's cool. Well, when all else fails, just resort to Quick Claw. After all, a Hustle Drill Peck has gotta... Well, if I thought it would take 1 try on a fight I've never done, I wouldn't have put the reset counter up there. So it was time to strategize. There's no surviving a hit, never gonna happen. So instead, we're really going to have to lean into Quick Claw strats, with a little Bright Powder in there too maybe. By the way, I have a second Quick Claw because of temporal disturbances. So the first iteration was to use Quick Claw on Kricketune to hopefully land a Sing and then go to town with Fury Cutters. The other Quick Claw could be on a Delibird for Drill Peck. I would keep Snover alive in case I could make use of more turns of Hail after the first 5. I sack Glameow into the first Trop Kick, then hope for the 20% Quick Claw. On the 5th attempt, I got the first Quick Claw and landed the 55% Sing to put the Tyrant to sleep. On the next turn, I get another Quick Claw to hit a Fury Cutter, which remember isn't a guaranteed hit either. However, the next turn the Zarina wakes up. At this point, I throw my whole team at her and none of the RNG assists me. This kind of attempt doesn't happen very often. Keep in mind that you not only have to get the 20% Quick Claw proc, then you have to contend with one of the worst move accuracies in the game. Let it be known though, if you play Reborn, you have to be quite a bit stubborn. And I am mega fucking stubborn. After 35 tries at this, I decided to change my strategy up. You may have already noticed that this Glameow I have also has Hypnosis. Snover also has Grass Whistle, though it has 5% less accuracy than Hypnosis, so Glameow it is. Now I start sacking Numel before bringing out Glameow, and hoping the Quick Claw goes off for one or both of my poor fodder. Of course, one of the downfalls of this strategy is how repetitive it gets, leading to some errors. On attempt 42, I got this, where the Quick Claw and Hypnosis finally land. I want to switch to Delibird to hit Drill Peck, but the horrible queen wakes up immediately. I go back to Glameow and miraculously get another Quick Claw activation. Unmiraculously, Hypnosis misses. Kricketune can't save it. On attempt 47, after Glameow fails again, Kricketune finally gets the odds to land a Sing. Then he gets the odds to land a Fury Cutter without it waking up, and he even gets one more. However, that damage isn't enough. Worse, the Tsarina wakes up, as I discovered, with 100% likelihood. Yeah, I never formally looked into Sleep's wake-up mechanics until this fight, but here's what happens. When a Pokemon is put to sleep, they get a random number between 1 and 3, 1/3 chance each. Every turn they attempt to act, if their counter is still above 0, stay asleep and reduce the counter by 1. When the counter is 0, wake up. This is why a Pokemon can't wake up the first turn. However, you only have a 1/3 chance for an opposing Pokemon to stay asleep for 4 turns. And of course they act on that turn. So let's review this. I must get a Quick Claw to land the Sing, and it must be a 4-turn sleep. These odds of 20%, 55%, and 33%, along with landing 2 Fury Cutters at 95% each, calculate into odds of just over 3%. And it got us that far. She wakes up before we can even attempt a 3rd Fury Cutter. If we could, then we could probably have the damage. However, for Kricketune to do that would require another Quick Claw proc. Now the odds stand at 0.6%. This is not good. 47 attempts lost so far. However, I'm determined to show that you can do this with only one badge. It now seems like it has to come down to getting a Quick Claw with Glameow too, so that someone else in the party can get some damage. One more failed attempt later, we get just that. Glameow puts the Tsarina to sleep, and it stays asleep while Delibird comes out. We got the max sleep round, so Delibird could land a Drill Peck. However, that's all he can do. Back to Glameow, we get all the luck again. So now we let Meowstic come out. However, this was a mistake I found out, because Meowstic can't do very much. Numel would have been better here, but I try to play it out. I send Snover out to whip up the Hailstorm again, who gets kicked in the face, leaving me with the clawed Pokemon. Unfortunately, the Quick Claw luck has run out. It would have still taken the full odds of the double Fury Cutter attempt to actually clinch the win, just barely. This means that the kind of luck we're looking at for victory requires 2 Glameow Quick Claws into 2 max round sleeps, dodging a 20% miss chance for Delibird's Hustle, then topping it off with another Quick Claw activation and max round sleep while not missing Fury Cutter. This translates into odds of 1 in 25,000. As the time went on, I began thinking of what else could be done. I want to point out some things about this Tsarina. Besides the move you're all well familiar with by now, it also has Play Rough, which it wasn't using because of lower accuracy, but it would basically invalidate me bringing something with 4 times resistance to grass and just hit me with that instead. It also has Aromatherapy and Synthesis, so even if I tried Toxic or Burning and Stalling, it could just easily cure the ailments and heal the chip damage, and again, this all relies on Quick Claw luck. I put the Bright Powder on Numel for an extra 10% chance that I get to land a free hit, but I knew I needed more, so I thought more about the sleep chance. That made me think about Paris. Paris learns the move Spore, a 100% accurate sleep move. He learns it at level 22 and is 4 times resistant to grass. He also evolves into Parasect at level 25. This would greatly improve the odds per attempt. Where can we get Paris? The next episode. Shit. But then again, if you think about it, all Paris represents is an improvement of odds on the current strategy. We already know that the strategy takes incredible odds beyond that. We've already spent 64 attempts on this strategy, and I was trying to think of what else could possibly be done. I knew that what I needed was decent, guaranteed damage. Maybe Dragon Rage? No, nothing is available to use it unless I had taken a Charmander. But that's when it hit me. What if I told you I came up with a strategy with 0 randomness that will work every time? A strategy that is literally garbage. Ready to see what it is? First, I lead with Snover like always to start Hail, and then I switch into Trubbish. Czarina easily kills the Trubbish, and behold, Aftermath. When a Pokemon knocks out an opponent with Aftermath while using a contact move like Trop Kick, they will lose 1/4 of their max HP. So, with a little Hail to deal with rounding issues, all I have to do is throw 4 sacks of garbage at the Queen, and she dies. Long live the Queen. Okay, so let me be transparent about this. I didn't look up if this Czarina had Synthesis. I only knew it had Aromatherapy and its 2 attacks. I believe this strat had 100% odds of winning, but that's probably not necessarily true. Let me interject here. The AI in this game is fantastic. Mega props to Cass. Yes, I read the dev blog. However, this does not mean that there aren't ways to exploit it. The opponents in this game can't act randomly when they feel like it. Their overwhelming superiority can sometimes mean their downfall, because it allows you to script fights. It is perfectly within the bounds of the game to make a fight go exactly the same way with the same player decisions. So with this Czarina, I'm not sure if this is just a flaw where the AI's routine for killing whenever possible just supersedes anything else, but the odds of this fight couldn't possibly be 100% because of Synthesis. It should just be able to heal and I couldn't win anymore. However, from where I'm sitting, a win is a win. I got a bounce suite for winning. One of those Trubbish had a silk scarf. This would be a ton easier with one more badge. Get used to Czarina, she'll be back again. Let's just finally move on. And no, 64 attempts is not that extreme. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah, the pulse was beaten and we can go back to doing not insane battles for an all too brief moment. Let's get some errands and side quests out of the way. Do you remember a mother at the Pokemon Center was missing her son? He's right here. Talk to him, then go back and receive an ability capsule. Very nice. While we're heading down this way, remember from like 17 minutes ago when we picked up that warehouse key? Well, now we can go use it. The key fits into 3 warehouses in Coral Ward, all of them except for the northwestern one. In this one, we hear a telltale Pokemon cry, and shortly have a battle with the Bounce Pig. Also in this warehouse is a Macho Brace, great for EV training, though I'm not planning to use it. The next warehouse over, you'll happen upon a Meteor Grunt, who sounds like he was responsible for moving the stolen daycare Pokemon. We won't get any of them back now, except for a Happiny with some pretty ridiculous stats. It would have been great with some more special attack, but that's not too important. Finally, in the last warehouse we can unlock, we can find the actual daycare couple. Now that daycare will be operational again. A great boon for a game like this. Now we can move to the north end of the park and get close to a new ward. First, go down this alley and get some cotton candy. Yum, alley, ground, broken rock, cotton candy. To the left of this is the Silphco building, who, showing a bit of universe presence, says we can't access the upper floors because of a mishap in the Kanto region. Man, Sylph is being smart here. I would hope that a major tech company and manufacturer wouldn't get infiltrated by an evil team for nefarious purposes. Anyway, the last building on this street is a doozy. Behold, the Obsidia Department Store, home to a grand motherload of items to buy. However, what you're about to embark on is one of the biggest side quests in the game. Literally recipe for disaster from RuneScape levels of complexity. The store does not allow access to almost any of the floors to anyone except for their most loyal customers. Customers show their loyalty through a membership card upon which you can affix a number of stickers. Stickers are obtained, in your case, from other shoppers except for this very first one, which grants you access to the second floor. Now it's up to you to find the rest. Be ready, you're going to be back here a lot, and you will be searching long and hard for the right to access the top floors. The first floor has basic items that you can find at pretty much any mart already. The second floor has special berries, some that heal status ailments, orange berries, and the EV berries. Unlike retail Pokemon, these berries remove twice as many EVs per use. Again, EVs aren't the most important thing at this time, so we'll revisit this later. This is all you can purchase for now, but just you wait. Now it's time to walk through the tunnel to the northeast and enter Once again, the Reborn motif is present in this ward's theme, which along with the relatively unscathed and orderly appearance of the ward and the Onyx Trainer School, gives off an impression of unconvincing calmness, as if to say, we can handle it. Everything is under control. For what it's worth, it truly doesn't have any sort of life-threatening disaster or even human-driven suffering and sociopathy. It does have Fern though, so it's horrible. The first thing you see upon entering the Onyx ward is this, the Onyx Arcade, which stands in as the game corner. Apparently they are having a computer virus, so their League of Legends-esque game is out of order, leaving many in the arcade bemoaning their poor lives without online games. I would be right there with them. Not League though, League sucks. Anyway, there is very little to do right now other than getting this Persona 5 reference. Now the rest of the arcade is inaccessible because we don't have a coin case, but we can play the lottery here, which I am lucky enough to win the last prize, a full restore. Don't mind if I do. We can go ahead and look at the prizes, which includes these 3 TMs and these 5 Pokemon. Last time here, I ended up getting the Shinx, and the resulting Luxray stayed with me for a long time, but I'm not sure I'll go for it again. This is where the Snover came from, by the way. Back on the street, next door, we can talk to a girl that is worried about the daycare couple, saying there are reports something is wrong with them. Oh yeah, there was. We tell her that the situation has been dealt with, and she gives us an egg. Down the street, a girl, who the sign will introduce as the Move Relearner, is locked out of her house. It's going to take a while to find that key, so don't go looking for it now. We'll get back to her. Around the corner, we finally catch up to the man who's caught up to his Lillipup. The man is basically having a crisis because of his overactive dog and asks us to take it from him, after which this man will sit here for days to come. Now we reach the only remaining open building of the Onyx ward, the school, which dominates most of the floor plan of the ward. After battling the trainers outside, we could listen to some talk about the apparently 4 friends who all became gym leaders from this school. You can probably guess that they mean the gym leaders we've already met. Each person bats for a different gym leader. Julia, Florinia, and Amaria being the ones we've met. However, there's one more. Titania. That name, we heard it once before. Something to do with why Florinia speaks the way she does. Well, we'll have to wait some time to meet this Titania. I wonder what type she represents. Before we entered the school, I hatched the egg I got, which reveals... Seal. It's like, sure, Dugong is kinda cool, but... I already mentioned how I'm probably going to use Vanillux anyway, so Seal can't see you helping me. Please keep watching my videos. Alright, it's time to enter the Onyx school and... oh. Hello, Fern. Apparently, he's butthurt that he wasn't asked to assist with the pulse, which is kind of funny considering Florinia did say she thought we could have used more assistance. So he thinks that Victoria, who he backhand insults of course, wouldn't have been captured if only he were there. Well, now the douchebag decides that he is going to arbitrarily interfere with Pokemon League protocol and deny me access to Florinia to battle her. It's not like there's any sort of real oversight or controller anyway, but still. Fuck you, Fern. So instead, we must take the long way around, going in the right-hand door, which is now guarded not by immovable NPC bodies, but by a trainer battle. So we walk by that guy and enter the school. The Onyx School has a lot of readable books that give either seemingly random information or some interesting tips about particular Pokemon or mechanics. One of them talks about the comparison between Discharge and Lava Plume. Notably, it makes mention of how tons of Pokemon can learn Discharge, but only 15 can learn Lava Plume. Hey, if you head east through the battle arenas, you'll face several trainers as you make your way upstairs. In the first door up the stairs, you'll find a guy who's really bent out of shape about the arcade being out of service. So he throws his coin case to you. Sweet! Well, screw school for the moment. Let's go back to the arcade and play some games. Inside the game. First, talk to everyone again so that we can get a ton of free coins to start. Once that's done, we have 3 choices to pick from if we want to earn more coins. We could do normal ass slots, though seriously, would you play a slot machine that uses Absol as a symbol? So how about this table? Oh, no, we're not playing fucking Voltorb Flip. Good lord, that's just the worst. Oh, it doesn't cost you coins. Yeah, well, I already have to deal with an entire game's worth of RNG designed to piss me off. I don't need the minigame that literally says, here's a coin flip. Fuck you. So here's our third and final choice. And thankfully, it is by far the most superior choice. Backed by the Whims of Fate attendant is Roulette. It is a pretty simple board, only containing 12 symbols. You can wager either 25 or 100 coins on one of the symbols, and if you win, you get 12 times your money back. Here's the thing, we're controllers of time and space. We can simply safe scum the hell out of this until we get all the coins we want. Just start a game and pick the first space, and have all 7 of the rolls come out. If you win, you'll make at least 500 coins profit. If you lose, you don't lose. It's simple, and after 10 resets, I have enough coins to buy all 3 TMs from the prize shop. We'll be back here for a little more later. For now, we can go back to school. Oh. Back on the 2nd floor, the next room over has a protective pads, a pretty niche item, and a rundown of Haunchcrow, who is reported to be a great abuser of Sucker Punch. Some of you in the audience who have played this game know exactly which Haunchcrow I'm thinking about right now. Anyway, prominently in this room is the boy playing the computer, but who pushes you off from his Mr. Minecraft game. We'll have to find something more fun than that for him to let us in. Dude played Torterraria, it's way better. Go down the hall now and reach this very large room. You're going to get a bit of lore now. First, pick up my precious. Now I have 2 of you for the past. Read the book about never miss moves, then read the one about fairy tales. There's something awfully shadowy about this book. Anyway, let's read some diaries. What? Alright, for real. What is going on with this room? It has been confirmed that these 4 graduated from the school 2 years ago. Why are their belongings still here? Most of all, their damn diaries. Is this a museum room now? Regardless, you'll get to learn a bit about the 4 girls here, starting with Julia. She apparently was always hyper, with a tendency to crash, but this let us in on the fact that Amaria and Titania are seemingly close. Further, it seems that Julia obtained her place as captain for cheer because Amaria gave it up. What does Amaria's diary say about this? Well, it becomes pretty evident that Amaria is having some trouble. Okay, let's look at Florinia's diary. Maybe she speaks more casually in a private space. Oh, so, no. Apparently she gave up using a diary entirely when this verbosity began. Interestingly, you can even see the last vestige of her self-identity evaporate when she opens the last entry with, "This will be my final entry," morphing into "this writer" immediately afterwards. Okay then, what can we learn about Titania? Alright, so Titania isn't going to be the warmest person we'll meet. At least she was smart enough not to leave her real diary out where someone could read it. Let's get out of here. Go outside and startle this boy to get the teacher to open this door. Inside, you'll find a series of students who are actually move tutors. They offer a wide range of mostly niche moves, though they have a cool twist. They only accept payment once per move, and then all subsequent learning of that move is free. It'd be really nice if you need things like bind, or snore. Really, most of these moves besides that are probably useful to some team compositions, but they aren't 6 staple offensive moves like Psychic and Earthquake. At the top of the stairs you can obtain a new field effect readout, one we will be covering very soon. Now go all the way back and continue on to the left. Go down the stairs and attempt to open the gate. It won't budge, but thankfully we have a 2nd highest ranked gym leader to help. Yeah, meet Hardy, a rocker who's Australian for some reason. He's the 2nd to last gym leader we will face, and we meet him in episode 2. Hell, we met number 3 best in this episode too. That's Amaria, by the way. Some powerhouse is just walking around casually wherever we are. Anyway, he says how he doesn't like Fern, so that makes him our new best friend. He opens the gate for us and promptly disappears for many episodes. If we follow where he went, we see he must have gone straight through the other gate without opening it. We are not a T-1000, so we have to open that gate and to access the shortcut. In this little alcove is a girl who will tell you more about the field effect seeds that I've gone over before. Now if we head back to the left, we can fight against some more trainers while reaching the puzzle of this gym. We'll need to answer several quiz questions to access Florinia. Some of these are no-brainer questions, especially the true-false questions. However, some require that you read the books throughout the school in order to find the answer to their esoteric questions. Like seriously, what kind of practical use is there in knowing Huntale's Pokedex number? Of course, reading the books will let you in on one of my completed files' champs, Dusclops. When you get an Eviolite, you may think to use Chansey, but I will make a strong case for Dusclops. That thing could tank. Maybe we'll see him again. In any case, fish throughout the school for the answers, one of which about Corsola is beyond this room. Once you have all of them answered, the way forward will be clear. Finally, we reached the point we got locked out before. We should just be able to battle Florinia and... Oh, it's you again. You know, there really isn't a lot to hold you back from hating Fern. Truly. Excellent job, Amethyst. Anyway, let's get this over with. He leads with his Still Sandile, who I put down with 2 Ice Shards. He then brings out his first evolved Pokemon, his starter now becoming a Dartrix. This thing is beefy this time, tanking Numel's Lava Plume and removing over half his health. Of course, I only went first because of the Quick Claw, which would have been nice on the second turn instead, but Numel is out. I try bringing out Esper to gain a level off this thing, but of course that's a bad idea because it will use Ominous Wind. It's not yet an actual ghost type, so fake out hits, but the damn thing survives 2 more Psybeams and Esper faints. Back to Delibird to instead gobble up that experience and gain the last move he'll ever learn, Drill Peck. A damn good move to have for Florinia, and right for this second, as we're going to drill down this damn hustle. But Delibird bosses it and kills the Roselia. Fuck you, Fern. With the swag jockey gone and the quizzes completed, there isn't anything stopping us from entering the gym proper. But let's go take care of a couple more things before episode end. First, return to the building where the girl gave us that egg, and the old man across the way complained about kids leaving the elevator to the roof open. Anyway, have the kid open the elevator to the roof. This guy only appears after you beat Fern in the school. Up there you will find the TM for Embargo and a Pichu. Do you remember that guy mentioning the big rat in the alleyways? Well, the day of the week that I recorded this, the big rat appears where he is. That, of course, is a Zangoose, so I catch him too. At this time, let's complete the rest of the trades that we have outstanding, those being the Ferret for Cast Form and the Bibarel for Mana. Now, it's time to return to Onyx School and challenge Florinia for the second badge. With the quiz questions out of the way, we can gain access to the arena after Amethyst tells us a couple things about Florinia's fight, which I'll expand upon once it starts. We entered the chamber to engage Florinia in her Desert Rose style. The reset counter is ready for another long day. Florinia's own summation of our skills isn't very glowing either. Maybe she saw the Zarina fight. It's time to discuss a new field effect. One that you're going to see now and then not again for nearly the rest of the main game. Desert Field. There are no rivers in this desert. The Desert Field is one of those fields that sucks to be on for any length of time, but isn't as hostile as a field of fire. There are a few major elements that greatly affect how basic interactions go. First, water moves used by grounded Pokemon decrease in power by 50%. Electric moves used against grounded Pokemon decrease in power by 50%. Ground-type Pokemon get 50% more special defense. That change is especially nuts when combined with the water nerf. This means that, for instance, a Blastoise hitting a Rhyperior with Surf will not kill the Rhyperior. This kind of interaction greatly changes how you handle the rock and ground types and makes grass much more valuable in the desert, though ground types are going to be especially tougher, making them very difficult to get rid of. Besides the above changes, here are some other effects. Harsh Sun and Sandstorm last for 8 turns. Sand Force, Sand Rush, and Sand Veil activate for free. Dry Skin will cause the bearer to lose 1/8 HP every turn just for existing. These moves increase in power by 50%. Sand Tomb deals 1/6 max HP per turn while it's active. Sand Attack lowers accuracy by 2 stages. Shore Up always fully restores a user's HP. Nature Power becomes Sand Tomb. Camo is Ground. Secret Power may lower accuracy 1 stage. Using a Telluric Seed raises defense, special defense, and speed by 1 stage, but gives the user a Sand Tomb. Overall, this field is pretty short on changes, but the modification to water, electric, and ground type matchups is enough to make this field more advanced than you'd expect. Though not a lot will do tons of damage, Sandstormers will thrive if they are ground type and take entirely too much time to dispatch, allowing lots of incremental damage to pile up. Depth 4, difficulty 5. Time to review my team comp before the battle begins. Leading the charge is my newly evolved Cherrim, who is just barely able to get in under the level cap. He has Sunny Day to activate its ability to increase special defense and attack, while also being a good mirror to her type. Kricketune. Frogadier might seem strange, and truth be told, I only have him here because it's too early to be cycling out my starter for something else. Besides, Protean can once again help him run from his problems. Delibird thankfully learned Drill Peck right at the level cap buzzer, and still has Ice Shard, but this is probably going to be his last hurrah. That isn't to say he can't wreck things with a Hustle Drill Peck. Like Cherrim, Esper also barely squeaks by the level cap and evolves into Meowstic, giving a large stat jump. She is once again neutral to what Florinia brings to the table, and sports Fake Out for guaranteed safe damage. Finally, Numel. Though not resistant to grass, is obviously well suited to fighting a grass team with Sun to intensify his damage. Now as for Florinia's fight, Amethyst warned us she does use the Sandstorm to her advantage. However, she is without ground types being a grass user. No, she does not have a Torterra. What she does have, and leads with, is Maractus, who makes use of some of the desert-specific boosted moves. First, Pin Missile against my unfortunate lead Cherrim. I open with Sunny Day to activate Flower Gift, though this does not affect the outlook of this game state, as Pin Missile affects regular defense, and Petal Dance is a special attack. Though Pin Missile is powered up, I can land 1 Petal Dance for half the Maractus' HP, hoping for a second 2-hit Pin Missile to survive and get the kill, but no dice. Numel is who will benefit from the Sun, which, remember, is boosted to 8 turns in the desert. However, a Needle Arm also gets a boost and triggers a flinch, leaving me in no man's land. But in a sick turn of luck, the follow-up 100 accuracy Needle Arm misses due to Bright Powder. The following Lava Plume wastes the Maractus. However, this prompts Florinia to immediately chase it with her ace, Cradily. That was a shock for me, as Cradily is a bastard to fight. Being weak to Ice and Bug, Delibird and Kricketune seem like good options, except that the rock typing means that it's likely to crush either one with a rock move. And of course, after Hustle missing an Ice Shard, smack down 4 times my Delibird into the sand. I know I can't send Kricketune into that, and of course Frogadier is out. Numel doesn't have a move to hit the Cradily, and I'm sure I'll desperately need him later, so I have to go with Meowstic. This leads to some rising tension as the Cradily stockpiles 3 times, making me unable to take it down before falling with Recover agonizingly close to fainting. At this point, I'm fishing for a crit, in order to cut through the defense as it reveals its last move slot being Sandstorm, of course. However, in another epic stroke of luck, a crit does come, and we dust her ace. This leads into Pharaoh Seed, and I'm ready to give her a quad weakness with Numel. However, it pops a Telluric Seed to boost its speed, along with defense and special defense. But even the sped up Seed can't beat the Camel. He's a camel in the desert. This is his turf. A Lava Plume easily kills Pharaoh Seed, and next is Cacnea. Though not Dark type yet, so only 2 times weak to Bug, I send out Kricketune to start the Fury. It kills the Cacnea in 1 hit, leading her to send out Cottony. The flying typing will dampen the Fury Cutter for a turn, but if Kricketune gets through, then he'll be a freight train. Cottony drops a Leech Seed on Kricketune and loses half her HP to the first Fury Cutter. Then a missed Sand Tomb and a non-missed Fury Cutter brings her to her last Pokemon, Breloom. Breloom and I have a history in this game. However, against a furious Kricketune, the grass fighting type has no option to beat me quickly. I'm giving you a break from the Zarina fight, reset counter. You earned it. That went astoundingly well for me, to be honest. The Bright Powder luck completely swung this fight, as the Maractus would have kept skewering my team. Kricketune would have had to come out sooner, and probably would have been hit pretty hard by Pin Missile. The likelihood he'd last to the end would have been pretty low. Maractus basically had Frogadier and Meowstic covered, and Delibird would have taken a big hit too. As for the Cradily, dealing with it in any sort of speedy way was not something my team was suited to do. The only way would have been for Kricketune to have a wound-up Fury Cutter and tank a Smackdown, which seems like slim odds. But with that, Florinia awards us the Canopy Badge, which now boosts our level cap for the only time by 10 levels to level 35. That would have made Czarina easy, wouldn't it have? We also receive her TM gift, Nature Power. Oh boy, Nature Power. If you've been listening to the field effect descriptions so far, you'll notice that Nature Power is always mentioned. It is a very interesting move that to this point I have not ever used. Maybe this playthrough will change that. With 2 badges in hand, Amaria enters the arena to report. Apparently, Borealis has been spotted in the ward called Barrel. We'd have to pursue him through Jasper Ward, north of Peridot, in order to save Victoria. However, plunging through Jasper in Barrel Ward is going to be treacherous, for you see, the demonstration at Obsidia was only a sample of the horror and devastation to come.